Right, hello everybody. Merry Christmas and a joyous winter solstice. So, Paul, what you been up to, mate?
Oh, lots of research at the moment, mate, to be quite honest with you. Can't do too much with business at the moment because the post is slowing down rapidly. So it's gone a bit quiet. So I've just been leaping into lots of different research, mainly connected to the business that's going on and just trying to find out as much as I can, really. It's very hard a lot of the time to be absolutely 100% certain about things connected to it because obviously they don't want you to know. But yeah, it's very interesting research. I found out today that if you research this subject for several hours, it can leave you feeling a bit on the blue side. So I stopped doing that about an hour ago, and I've listened to some music to cheer myself up a bit. And yeah, so I've got a few bits to report on that, but I'm quite sort of early into my investigations into certain things. But yeah, it would seem that we've got some problems to say the least. Anyway,
Well,
so
I think we've got problems here too. Facebook is still saying that.
the light's shining on your screen, mate, so we can't see what it says at the minute.
This live video should start soon.
Oh, okay. Well, according to my thingy, we're 2 minutes in now. We're two
Yeah.
minutes into being live on
Can
YouTube. So
Nicola see it?
probably I'll have to go. She's out the back though, so I'd have to
No,
go and
okay,
ask.
not to worry.
Yeah.
But we had this trouble a few weeks ago, didn't we? That
Yeah,
for some
Facebook
reason
seems to make it up as it goes along, I think, doesn't it? Quite a lot of the time.
So, apologies to anybody who can't get on live, but the replay will be up very, very shortly. So I was playing about with it. I didn't do a proper intro, so excuse me for that. I'm Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, and this
Also known as Santa Claus.
also known as Santa Claus.
Very
Give me
fetching.
bobble. And this is my co-host, my usual co-host, Paul Simon Smith, who runs Nirvana.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. So shall we go into? I've done it. I've done the Christmas intros, the Christmas, Merry Christmas bit. So let's talk a little bit about the origin of Christmas, shall we?
I'd love to hear about that, Jack, mate.
Now, this is an article I wrote last year, so I'm just going to read from it rather than try to ad-lib it, because you know what I'm like ad-libbing. Basically, why do we celebrate Christmas in December? The church fathers chose to celebrate the birth of Jesus during the existing Roman holiday of Saturnalia, birthday of the unconquered sun. Now, this started as a harvest festival. I can't wear this bloody stupid thing. This started as a harvest festival in September under the Greeks, and it just sort of evolved into a winter solstice celebration with the Romans. Yeah. There may also have been other motives in trying to make Jesus acceptable to the pagans. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that.
Well, I was going to say, sorry, Jack, but you mentioned, was it Saturnalia?
Yeah.
That was the religion of Rome, wasn't it?
It started in Greece, and the Romans took it on.
And this was the worship of the planet Saturn, but did it have any connection to the sun?
I don't know about the planet Saturn. It was the god Saturn. As I say, it started as a harvest festival in September.
Right.
To the Greeks, it was a harvest festival in September. And under the Romans, it just sort of grew into a huge piss up, basically. And good luck to them. But it was also a great leveling. Even the senators dressed in ordinary clothes, not in their posh togas, and everybody was leveled down. And similar, really, to the Loki celebrations um, in the North countries. Loki was the trickster god. There's so many similarities here. I could go on and make this a whole program about it, but I'll try not to. That was also very much about the leveling. It was about the chiefs serving the ordinary people, and the Romans, as I say, did that as well. But I don't want to talk the whole program about that. The birth of Jesus brought hope to the world, as did the birth of Mabon at Modron in Celtic tradition. Another winter solstice celebration popular today in Wales and elsewhere. Mabon literally means sun, and Modron actually literally means mother. It's both Mabon and Jesus are known as the child of promise. The rebirth of the sun is the rebirth of the child of promise. There's no contradiction here. Whether you spell sun with an O in the middle or a U in the middle, it's basically the same celebration.
Yeah, so it would seem that the Romans have attached all this old belief system onto their version of Christianity.
Absolutely. The founders of the Catholic Church decided to amalgamate the two things, really, which is why it seems so strange to me now that so many modern day Christians are anti all this, what I'm going to tell you about now. They want to make it their own original celebration, and it never was. And even the church fathers didn't want it to be that.
Well, as I understand it, Jack, you had not long after Jesus' death, you had the Church of Jesus and James, who was his brother, and that was quickly done away with, and you ended up with the Church of Saul, who wrote most of the New Testament, and was really working for the Romans as a propagandist, if you like.
No, that's my theory. It's lovely to hear somebody else saying it.
Well, that's what I mean. I recently interviewed a guy called Ralph Ellis, and he's written 3 books on the history of the actual Jesus character, which I won't go into too much detail here because it's there's a lot of information. But yeah, basically, it would seem to me that he was a real person. He was a king as well. I mean, the New Testament refers to him as a king on, I think, 28 occasions, something like that. And he was called a carpenter, but that is just a mistranslation from the Greek word tekton, which actually means architect. And you can hear part of the word architect, tekton. So there's been a lot of mistranslation, a lot of propaganda thrown into the mix when it comes to Christianity, and really, I think the actual message, or a lot of the message of Jesus, has been lost to history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just about everything else, really.
Yeah, another thing that it's not the right time of year to talk about it. We would talk about it in at Easter, probably more. But what would people of those days have called a resuscitation other than a resurrection?
That's interesting. Although now that's a possibility. On the other hand, the resurrection the Jesus resurrection is very similar to the third degree ceremony of Masons. And originally, the third degree, you had to be put into a tomb. And in Jesus's day, this would happen because Masonry was around. It's been around since Harima Biff and a long time. But you'd be put into a tomb for 3 days. And so effectively you were dead. You had no access to anything. You were stuck in that tomb for 3 days, and you had to trust your brethren, your brothers, to come and let you out. And that's the third degree.
Yeah,
I
but
don't think they use tombs anymore, it doesn't go on for 3 days, but it's a very similar kind of idea. So it might be connected to Freemasonry.
it could be, but that's a later thing, isn't it? That's probably modelled on.
Well,
on
I think the author that I'm talking about, he argues that this went on at the time.
Okay.
As I say, Freemasonry officially was invented about 1717, something like that. But many people, it goes back to the Temple of Solomon and Harima Biff, and so it could have been around for thousands of years in different kind of facets or whatever.
I read a very interesting. We're getting off the topic. I'll get back to.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I'll put you right off. I apologise for that.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I read a very interesting book. I can't remember who it was by now. I don't think it was Bernard Cornwell, although he wrote something similar. And it traces Freemasonry back to Stonehenge.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
It was a fiction book.
Right.
It was a lovely story, and it followed the descendants of one Mason, and he was one of the Masons that helped to build Stonehenge, and followed it through the centuries.
That's very interesting.
I'll see if I can find out who wrote that.
Were they the people who built Stonehenge in the book you read? Were they giants?
No.
No, because I've often quite liked that theory about the giants. And before it was called Stonehenge, it was called the Giants' Dance.
I mean, that's also quite possible. I don't diss theories about giants. I think there's a lot in that. But anyway, let's just carry on a little bit with what I've written here. The Christmas tree evolved out of the Yule log in Norse tradition to bring good luck. Yule is the name of the winter solstice in the Scandinavian as well as other parts of Northern Europe, including Germany. The Yule log was originally an entire tree. It was chosen very carefully and brought into the house with great ceremony. The largest end of the log would be placed into the fire hearth, while the rest of the tree was left sticking out into the room. The log would be lit from the remains of the previous year's log, so as to symbolize continuity. Clearly here we're talking about the great feasting halls, that the very important people, the poorer people would have had a more modest log like we do now. The Romans did something similar. On the eve of the midwinter solstice, Roman priests would cut down a pine tree, decorate it, and carry it ceremoniously into the temple. People would decorate their homes with boughs of evergreen trees and shrubs. Pines were revered, and still are, as symbols of rebirth and life in the depths of winter. It's important to remember that the winter solstice is a living tradition, very much alive in our modern world. There are still thriving pagan communities everywhere who still celebrate the changing seasons in the traditional ways. The Yule wreath comes from southern Europe. The Etruscan people from the area just north of Rome, who thrived during the 6th century BCE, made jewelry of gold or other precious metal in the shape of wreaths. Symbols from Greek myths often appear in the designs too. Etruscan jewelry, including ivy, oak, olive leaves, myrtle, laurel, wheat and vine. The problem with archaeology, of course, is that these precious metal artifacts survive, where the wreaths made by the country people, wreaths of real oak, olive leaves, myrtle, etc., perish. Nevertheless, it is these wreaths of natural materials that are still made today. Now, if you just excuse me for a second, because I did ask Mabi to come on, and she told me why she couldn't, and she's just sent me a message, so I just want to make sure that she's not trying to come on. I'll get back to this in a second. It's a voice one, hang on.
Jack, I'm really sorry. I'm not able right now to listen.
No, it's not that. So let's get back to where we were.
Yep.
All right, she's going to send me a series of voice messages now, and I'll listen to them after the show.
Yeah, so you're talking about wreaths.
I was, yeah. The circular shape represents both the wheel of the year and the eternal circle of death and rebirth. Remember that the winter solstice is the time of year when the sun dies and is reborn. In Christian tradition, that theme is played out at Easter, the time of the rites of spring. Evergreens represent everlasting life and are traditionally hung around doorways and windows at this time of year. Mistletoe is sacred to Druids, who consider it to be a healer and protector. It is carefully cut, traditionally with a golden sickle, to ensure it never touches the ground. Its magical properties are believed to be connected to the fact that it lives between the worlds, between sky and heaven, and the earth. The white berries of mistletoe represent the fertile white semen of the life-giving male, which is where kissing under the mistletoe comes from. Holly is a particularly powerful evergreen plant for protection with its spiky bristles. Indeed, the word holly and holy are say it for me.
Etymologically.
Thank you. Linked, and newborn babies used to be sprinkled with holy water or holy water, in which the holly had been soaked. Holly is sacred to Holly, the Germanic underworld goddess, and symbolizes everlasting life, goodwill, and potent life energy. Its red berries represent the female blood. Together, mistletoe and holly represent the sacred marriage at this time of year, with the rebirth of the son, however you want to spell it, with a U or an O. Ivy is the evergreen symbol of immortality and resurrection. It reminds us of reincarnation and birth by the way it grows in a spiral. In Egyptian tradition, ivy is sacred to Osiris, where his death and resurrection is a central theme. To the Greeks, ivy is sacred to Dionysus, god of vegetation and the return of springtime. In the Roman tradition too, where Dionysus is called Bacchus. Yew is the tree of regeneration and rebirth because it sends up new shoots from its roots and grows to a very great age. It is deeply connected with the spirit realms and the ancestors. Gift giving is another very ancient tradition at this time of year. Whether you consider this to be the birthday of the sun or the sun, what better way can there be to give thanks than to show generosity? So when was Jesus actually born? There's a big question there. Nobody really knows. We just don't know. Because it wasn't recorded. But there are clues. Shepherds watching over their flocks. Would flocks have still been out in the hills in December? Or would they have been brought in for the winter? In that part of the world, I don't know. Consider also that we are told that Mary and Joseph were traveling to Bethlehem for the Roman census. Would this have occurred in winter? Would they have dragged everybody out in the middle of winter to do that journey? I know it's a milder climate than ours, but it still gets pretty damn cold there. Indeed, we can't even be sure which year Jesus was born in, let alone which month. The Gospels place the baby Jesus during the reign of King Herod I, also known as Herod the Great. Herod was a Roman client king of Judea who was born in 72 BCE and died in 4 BCE. So according to that marker, Jesus must have been born sometime between 4 and 5 BCE. But then we have another gospel story that places the birth during the census, which occurred in 6 CE. Clearly, both accounts can't be true, and the closest we can get is to say that Jesus was born sometime between 5 BCE and 6 CE. BC and AD, for those of you that like to look at it that way. So yes, it made perfect sense then as now to celebrate the birth of the bringer of light and hope for the world at the winter solstice, when the people were already giving thanks for the return of the newborn son. So those of you who say that Christianity has no place in Yule celebrations, or that paganism has no place at Christmas, let me just say that as far as I'm concerned, everybody of good heart is welcome at the table. The songs we sing may be different, but the tunes are not that far apart, and all tolerant paths lead to enlightenment. And that's what I wrote last year.
That's very nice, Jack. Yeah. Quite a lot of stuff there I didn't know. That was interesting, mate.
Yeah, quite a bit of research went into that. It's only in recent centuries that this great antagonism has grown up between the Christians and the pagans. And part of my mission in life is to try to heal the wounds, to end the division. All people of good heart are welcome in my life. I don't care what name you call God by or what rituals you celebrate. No religion, this is something I like to say, no religion has a monopoly on God or a monopoly on truth. So maybe you'll join with me briefly in a brief prayer. May the God that is above all human religions bring unity to mankind. So mote it be.
Let it be.
So, what do you want to talk about before I go on to my next thing? Because it's going to be silly if I'm the one talking all night.
I don't know, mate. You're very interesting. Well, only just a closing point on what you were talking about, really. I think whether you lean more towards paganism or Christianity, I think either meaning with regards to Christmas has been lost. It's just one big marketing thing now, isn't it? Commercial episode. And, it's all about spend your money, spend your money. So, I mean, I'm not religious, but in a lot of ways, I wish it was still a religious festival rather than what it is today. It's completely
Yeah,
lost any sort of meaning at all, really. I don't mean to sound like a killjoy, but it's. I think whatever was special about Christmas has been lost.
I think lost is a little bit harsh, uh, with all due respect. I think there are still a lot of people who do treat it as a religious holiday, whether we're talking about the solstice or the 25th. It's a lot of people do still treat it with great reverence, but yeah, it's been heavily commercialized. The 25th rather than the 21st or the 22nd as it is this year. I just want to make that point. Those of you who don't get a winter solstice greeting on the 21st, it's the 22nd this year.
I got summer solstice mixed up once, and me and the missus went to Avebury, and there was no one there. I know. Well, I tell a lie. Actually, what the funniest thing about it was there was a few people there who'd made the same mistake as us, but it was nowhere near as busy as it should have been. So we still had a good time.
There's those of you that know about Newgrange, which is a megalith, a Neolithic site in Ireland. It's been rebuilt a lot lately, and it probably doesn't look very much like the original. But they're doing a winter solstice celebration. Well, not the celebration, the actual winter solstice, the actual thing, live on Facebook. I think you can sign up for it. Again, I'll see if I can remember to put the link below. Newgrange, like most of these womb-like structures that were built at that time, and there's lots of them, with this long passageway that represents the vagina. And on the winter solstice, the sun, the male principle, the sun, shines right through, right along that passage, illuminates the stone at the end, and represents the sacred marriage between sun and earth.
That's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? When you think about it, it's wonderful. Yeah, it's amazing.
And also the fact that back in those days they had the technology to do that. They had the knowledge of of to do that. The knowledge of astronomy must have been huge to be able to do that and get it right. And it would be a massive undertaking to do a thing like that and get it wrong, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
You couldn't have a second go at it if you got it wrong. So great respect for those early people.
Wow, yeah. Have you heard of star thoughts, Jack?
Of what?
Star thoughts.
Oh, this American thing they've started.
No. No, these are ancient star thoughts.
Oh, forts.
Yeah.
Yes, I have heard about it. I think they were probably space stations, weren't they?
Yeah, possibly ancient power stations is another theory, similar to the pyramids, etc. I was talking to Clive de Carl, not the last video I did, the one before that, and he mentioned them, and I'd heard of them, but never really delved into it very much. Turns out they're all over the place. They're all over the globe, including Staten Island. The Statue of Liberty is built on top of one, and you can see it quite clearly at the base of the statue. And these things are massive. They're absolutely huge, and you've got to see them from the air. But when you do, they're incredible. I mean, whoever built those, and they're extremely ancient as well. And yeah, quite possibly they were ancient power stations. They're often surrounded by water, and I think there's tunnels underneath the pyramids that contain water and stuff in Giza in Egypt and at various other sites in the world. So there's a lot of smoke here with these things. There's a lot of smoke, and I just find that whole subject fascinating, and because so much of it is still unsolved. I think there's some very interesting theories about, and power stations is a very interesting theory, but they're not explained by the mainstream or anyone else really. So, what do you think of that, Jack?
I didn't actually realize that they were earthbound. I thought they were Vimanas.
Vimanas. Oh, do you mean, what do you mean by Vimanas? Do you mean like those spaceships, the Hindu? Yeah.
The Hindu record, yeah.
No. Yeah, this is different. These are on the ground. They cover huge areas. Like, you have to see them properly from way up with drone footage to look down on them. They are geometrically shaped very precisely, like star shapes, basically. And they're extremely old as well. They could well be a lot older than the pyramids. And a lot of these ancient star faults have, like we're talking like several tons of block in them and stuff. Stone blocks that weigh several tens of tons or whatever. So again, so it amazes me because you can, like I've done for the last sort of 15 years or so, I've followed and researched megaliths, and I still find out new stuff all the time. It's incredible. I mean, the world is heaving with these things, and there's a complete blackout as far as information about them is concerned.
Yeah. If you could do a talk about that next week, that'd be great.
Well, a couple of weeks, because I think we're coming back just after New Year's, mate, or do you want to do one after Christmas?
I think I'm happy to keep it going.
But okay, yeah, all right then.
If you've got other things to do,
No. It's fairly. I mean, I'm going to. Well, I'm supposed to be going to my mum's at Christmas, but who knows what might happen.
Well, play it by ear.
But it should be all right. Yeah, so that would be something I would try and sort out for you. I'll talk to you about that off camera a bit more, but I would like to do something on that because it's really interesting.
There's one thing I want to mention briefly. The scarf. I'm wearing this wonderful scarf. Probably all.
It looks a bit. Is it claret and blue? Is that a West Ham scarf, Jack? Have you seen the light?
This was knitted by my bee.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe she's the West Ham fan then.
No, it's I don't know what all the colours are, but
I see some green in there as well. Yeah, it's lovely, by the way.
Different colours in it.
That's really, really nice. How long did it take her to put that together?
No idea. It must have taken her a very long time.
I was going to say, it's quite big as well. It looks lovely, mate. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
That's favouritism for you. She made Jack one, not me.
I feel very privileged, very privileged. She's knitted another one, and sometime it's going to be auctioned to raise money for the Healing Gardens Tractor Fund.
Oh, what a great idea.
Now, I've contacted Juliet and she hasn't come back to me because I wanted to give a big plug and say, get there for Wednesday. It's going to be a wonderful event. But she hasn't got back to me, so I can't say definitely it's this coming Wednesday. But I expect it'll be this Wednesday or next Wednesday. And it's on YouTube and it's on Facebook. And it's called Elders' Wisdom in Uncertain Times. She normally does it with Mabi, but I don't quite know what the plans are for this week. So maybe that's why Julia hasn't got back to me. Maybe she doesn't know what the plans are for this week either. So let's just play it by ear. Well, I just wanted to show off this wonderful scarf.
Yeah, it's very nice.
And to let you know that there's another one being made. Apparently it's better than this. I don't know the names of all these different fancy stitchings, but apparently it's more fancy than this. And there's a chance to actually get your hands on one. So, yeah, I'm
Brilliant.
talking to everybody now, not just you, Paul. There's a chance to get your hands on it.
Definitely, mate. Yeah.
I'll give an update about when I find out. But it might possibly be this Wednesday, or it might possibly be later.
Do you know how close we are to raising the money for the tractor, Jack, at the moment?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. I don't think we've reached the third yet.
Oh, okay. I suppose it is a bit close to Christmas, isn't it, for a lot of people, maybe?
It's close to Christmas, yeah.
Mm.
She raised about $9 or $10,000 because the giving site was actually an American one that she uses. Before the end of the cutoff, about $9,000, but she's $900. But she's going to be continuing to raise money in lots of other ways, and the scarf is one of those ways. And I really did want to be able to say more about that tonight, but she's not come back to me, so I can't. But I'll keep you informed. I'll keep you all informed. Right, the other thing I wanted to speak about briefly, I keep saying briefly, don't I? And then I'll waffle on for hours. Again, I've made some notes, but it won't be reading the whole thing, it'll just be notes. Which is about fear porn. This is
the BBC News, yeah?
Well, not just the BBC.
Sky, CNN.
It's coming from everywhere.
They've ramped it right up, haven't they? Cheeky rascals.
Yeah. And it's important, I think, that people know what they can do to counteract it. We don't have to just soak it all up. So I've made some notes. As the theme of this series and the theme of my book, Love Not Fear, there are two primary energies, love and fear. And love holds the greatest vibration, and love will win in the end. They can't hold us down. Fear can't beat us.
And there's too many of us now as well.
Light always wins over darkness. But fear is running amok at the moment on TV, radio, and in the press. It's almost impossible to avoid the fear brainwashing that's going on. I don't have a telly, I don't even listen to the radio.
No, me neither.
I do go into pubs occasionally, I'm afraid. And sometimes they have the news on or something. And I'm appalled by it, absolutely appalled by it. The wall-to-wall fear porn, and it's hardcore porn now.
Well, just before they started to ramp all this up, Jack, the rhetoric around, I'll call it moronic, the new variant, yeah, because I don't want to use the real word. I'll use a more appropriate word. So all the early rhetoric around this new variant was that it was very mild, and that some people might have cold symptoms, other people might be asymptomatic, which just means healthy. So, and then all of a sudden on the TV, it's like a disaster unfolding before our eyes, and it's absolute madness, and people buy it. I think in South Africa, I might have mentioned this last week, there are 60 million South African people. Only about 25% of them have been, jabbed.
Yes.
And the numbers on this new variant are extremely low, in all ways. So I think there was only a few hundred people in hospital, and nobody has succumbed to it at all. So what's all the hysteria about? It's ridiculous. And at the same time, they do not mention anything about vitamin D3, zinc, vitamin C, chaga mushroom, all of these amazing things that will boost your immune system and protect you from a very mild strain of flu.
Yeah, well, last year when all this nonsense started, and they told us all to stay indoors and cover our faces with manky hankies, and I thought, hang on, this isn't health advice. This is sickness advice.
Mm, mm.
And that's when I woke up, and well, I mean, I was awake anyway. But I woke up to this particular thing
Hmm.
and started to see through it, and I realised it was all BS.
I saw a really good, and I do like a good meme, as I'm sure you know, Jack, and I saw a really good one the other day. It said something like, I would rather have a week of flu symptoms than wear a face nappy for 2 years.
Yeah.
Of course.
All the manky hankies do is they trap the germs right
Mm,
up your nose. They don't let
mm.
you expel them.
And somehow the thing that we're all talking about managed to escape a grade 4 weapons lab, but it can't penetrate a cotton mask for some reason. It's just.
I mean, as some of you know, I had a career in the army for 6 years when I was younger. Not something I'm particularly proud of, but I did. And we did a lot of training in the gas chamber with the gas masks, and not just pieces of cloth, I mean proper gas masks with an inflatable seal that you had to blow up. And we weren't allowed to wear beards. We weren't allowed beards. And the reason in the army we weren't allowed beards is because they stopped the gas masks from working.
Oh, didn't know
They
that.
stopped you getting a tight seal.
Mm, mm,
So I know all this is nonsense.
mm,
We
mm.
used to have to go into the gas chamber, uh, open up a can of CS gas to check that our masks were working,
Mm.
and then we had to take them off, say gas, 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 and put them back on again right quick. And we all end up with streaming eyes and stuff. But so I know about gas
Yeah.
masks. And what were you doing? These bloody stupid masks aren't gas
Well,
masks.
it shouldn't take a lot of critical thought to work that one out, really, should it? I mean, if there was really a deadly lurgy going around the planet, then we should all be wearing hazmat suits,
Yeah,
proper protection, not a silly
yeah,
cotton mask. I mean,
absolutely.
it's a
Yeah.
symbol of slavery, end of, and compliance, slavery and compliance. That's all they are.
The reason we had to shout gas, gas, gas at the top of our voices, apart from to alert the other soldiers if it was a real situation, was to empty any gas out of our lungs.
Mm. Yeah, sure.
No one's telling us to empty our lungs, they're telling us to keep it in.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, there's propaganda now, it's everywhere. It's on bus stops,
Mm.
it's even appearing on food packaging.
Children get
McDonald's.
strokes. Children get strokes too is the one on buses at the
Oh.
moment, isn't it? Children get strokes too.
Yeah, well, they never used to, did they?
No, it must be climate change.
Yeah, it must be climate change. Yeah. It's now reached a whole new level of depravity.
And stupidity. And it just, even I'm amazed, I mean, I probably haven't been awake as long as you, Jack, but I've been awake for, 15 years or so. And even I'm amazed at what some people, not all, but what some people are still swallowing, It's incredible. You think, what? You seriously believe that? But there we go.
Something that
Power of mind control.
something that I think it was Juliet that told me. I think it was Juliet, and I checked it out. And in 1999, David Bowie released a video,
Yes,
a,
Omicron. Yeah.
a
Sorry, whoops.
virtual reality world
Yeah.
called
Moronic.
yeah, where souls could be trapped inside a computer game. Did he know something? I don't believe souls can be trapped, but the fact that his video, which has almost the same name as the variant,
Mm,
and not an anagram of it. There's only one letter changed,
mm.
a C to a K.
Did you know this, Jack? There's islands off of Antarctica. They're called Moronic, only spelt beginning with an O,
Yeah.
Delta, and Coronation. And guess who owns them? The
Go on.
Rothschilds.
Who owns them?
The Rothschilds.
Rothschilds. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's coincidence, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. The mainstream media are offering no hope, just wall-to-wall propaganda.
And boosters.
It's just hardcore fear porn.
Mm, mm.
Words like tidal waves of infections, a tsunami of cases. The need to attack it with both barrels. It's all fear mongering.
Well, as lurgies mutate, they become more contagious and less deadly, don't they? As a
Yeah.
rule.
As a rule, yeah.
And so that's what we're seeing, if you believe in it, which I don't.
The last
With
thing the virus wants to do is kill its host.
hmm,
It wants to have a nice home
hmm,
inside of you.
hmm.
So how can we counteract all the doom and gloom?
Well, throw the TV out would be a good start. Stop paying attention to mainstream media. Non-compliance, obviously. Civil disobedience, those are key.
They're good things, yeah. But if we're going to stay in the energy of love, not fear, let's take it back to basic law of attraction principles. If you don't program your own mind, somebody else is going to do it for you. And that's what they're trying to do.
Good point.
The simplest way to program your own mind is just with affirmations. Every time a negative, fear-based thought enters your mind, immediately overwrite it with a positive, loving one.
Mm.
Affirmations should always be positive. Never say, I'm not buying into this BS, because your subconscious won't hear the not. Affirmations must always say, hang on.
That's all right. So I've
Yeah,
also
positive and in the present tense, not sometime in the future, not I'm going to be better. This is going to pass away, because going's never going to happen. You've got to do your affirmations as in now. I am okay. I am surviving.
And most of what people worry about, or most of the things that people worry about, never actually manifest themselves anyway. They never, it never actually happens, you know. So
I am strong and healthy. You can say these anyway, and if you're not worried about the fear porn, say these every day anyway. They're good affirmations.
yeah.
I am calm. I am loved. I am fully protected by my wonderful natural immune system. There's a good one. I'm thriving, and I am helping others to thrive. I'm building the new earth. I am love and light. Another variation that's becoming popular recently is, why is it so easy? Why is it so easy to remain strong and healthy? Why is it so easy to survive and thrive? So use whichever one you like, but so we've got to program our own minds, or somebody else, i.e. the government has been bought off by Bill Gates. It's going to do it for us.
Yeah, this is similar to the biology of belief, isn't it? Programming your own mind, and
well,
yeah,
biology belief is based on Bruce Lipton's work, isn't it? In
Epigenetics, yeah, that's right.
That we were taught at school, at least my generation was taught at school, I expect yours was too, Paul, that genes regulate everything.
Yeah.
It all depends on our genes. It all depends. And Bruce Lipton did a lot of work, I don't know, back in the 60s, I think, where he proved in his lab that the genes express or don't express depending on the environment they're living in. And the environment they're living in depends very much on the environment you're living in. If you're living in an environment of fear, then your genes are going to be living in an environment of stress hormones. If you're living in an environment of love, then your genes are going to be living in an environment of love hormones.
This is real science we're talking about.
This is real science. This isn't nonsense. So please, I'll put some links below, but please do get hold of everything Bruce Lipton's ever done. You can get those of his videos on YouTube. And what was that book called again? I've forgotten.
The Biology of Belief.
Biology of Belief, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read that a while back. It's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really good. We need to know this stuff. The government wants us to believe. The government are just puppets too, aren't they? The people that are pulling the strings behind the scenes want us to believe that there are all these nasty viruses that are out there to kill us. And there's nothing we can do about it apart from live the most unhealthy lives possible. Come on, you've got to be able to see through that. Please, people, you've got to be able to see through that.
Well, I think more and more people are now, Jack. Did you go to the protest, Jack?
I was there, yeah. It was absolutely brilliant.
Did you have a good time then?
I had a wonderful time. It
Brilliant.
was a long walk, but it was great. The atmosphere there was so much love, and people were dancing and singing, walking along, dancing. Were you there?
No, some of my one or two friends went, and my sister-in-law went, and she said this is what she said. She felt like she was high, literally high, because of the amazing vibration between everyone that went. She said it was one of the best experiences of her life. So I think there's one in January planned. So
January the 22nd, yeah.
Yeah, as I said before, and I hope I'm not tempting Providence here with what I'm saying, but I've always just been a bit worried about going to these things because if I was provoked in any way by people in uniform, I'd find it really hard not to react to, and so I don't fancy spending a night in the prison cells. But
I'm quite willing to go to the prison cells if it comes to that.
Say that again. Sorry, I missed that, Jack.
I am quite willing to go to the prison cells if it comes to that.
I'm quite willing to do that if it means not being needleworked. Definitely, yeah. I'm going to die before they do that. But
I've drawn my line in the sand, and I think I mentioned this last week that if I get done for not wearing a manky hanky, or for not taking a jibby jabby, or whatever it is I get done for related to this, I'm not paying the fine. They'll have to lock me up. And I'm adamant about that. They're going to have to lock me up.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you. If
everyone refused to pay the fine, they'd have to lock a hell of a lot of us up. Then it would start to change.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that, Jack. 100%, mate.
It's different. It's different for you. You've got a wife and a business and all that lot. And I'm retired. It's easy for me.
It's the criminal record that worries me, mate. To be quite honest with you, I don't need one of them. So, but as I say, I think the way things are looking, mate, I think I'll probably be going to the next one. Will you?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Well, we'll have to meet up then.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant.
I went all the way down and all the way back, train and tube, without a manky hanky, and nobody said a word.
Brilliant.
No one challenged me.
Good.
Um, I was going back to what we were saying just now. I've not been all that well the last little while. I've had a couple of different things, and I wasn't sure how I was going to get round, do the whole walk, do the whole march, and it was the energy of that was there that kept me going,
Mm,
and it was huge.
mm.
I had to sit down 3 times. I admit it. I had to, for 5 minutes each time. Each time I got back up, I was still nowhere near the rear. They were still coming,
Mm.
and still they come.
Do you have any ideas on the numbers that were there? Are we talking 10,000? Are we talking 100,000? Are we talking more, less?
My personal guess, I've got no way of quantifying it really, is minimum 100,000. I met Radish down there. I don't know if you know his work. Citizen journalist.
What's his name again? Sorry.
It's a foreign name, Radislau or something.
Don't think so.
No. And he estimated it, just judging by the capacity of Oxford Street, that it was 100,000.
Which is
But I
pretty
don't
good
think
going
we
when
were
it's this
all.
cold outside. That's some good going, isn't it?
I don't think we were all in Oxford Street at the same time.
Mm, mm. Did you just on kind of on that subject, Jack? Did you hear or read that story in the expose? That and they're normally a very reliable source of information, and they are saying that the amount of people that haven't received the jibby jabby in the UK is more like 25.5 million,
Yeah, I read
which
that.
is
Yeah,
a much bigger number than the mainstream media gives us.
yeah,
And I've got a feeling, I mean, just judging by the amount of people I know and who has and who hasn't, that kind of. So, what would that be? How many people living in the UK? Was it 80 million or something?
yeah. 75, 80, something like that.
I think it's going to be about 80 million people in the UK. So that's over a quarter of the country that
Yeah.
haven't,
Mm.
that's really good to hear, isn't it?
And a lot of people who've taken the first two aren't having the third.
Yes, which
They're
is
not having the Easter,
no.
which tells you they've changed their mind. They've started to see through this.
Yeah, well, they were told you won't have to wear a mask again, and you won't be locked down again, and blah blah blah, and lie lie lie.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. I'm a little bit disappointed with GB News. I thought they were going to be good journalists. They said there were only 10,000 there, which is absolute nonsense.
Really?
Yeah.
And they were there reporting as well, weren't they? That's
Yeah.
well, that tells you all you need to know then.
Yeah.
Mm.
There were. I didn't see the. I was a little bit late because there was a strike on the tube,
Yeah.
and I had to go a different route than I would normally go, which involved quite a walk just to get there. So I was coming down Vauxhall Street as the march was coming up it.
Mm, mm,
So I joined part way. I didn't
mm.
join at the beginning. And I've no idea how you quantify that number of people, but how many did they say last year would fit into Trafalgar Square when the Trafalgar Square ones were going on?
Ooh, off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly. Sorry. I think it was tens of thousands,
Hundreds of
probably.
thousands. I mean,
Maybe,
you
yeah.
could easily have got that lot. That lot would not have fitted in Trafalgar Square.
Mm, mm,
We
mm.
didn't actually go that way. Well, we did come back that way. We came back to Trafalgar Square, but it was just going and going and going and going and going.
Well, I know we've discussed about the ramping up of the fear porn in the mainstream media today, but people are still waking up all over the place at the moment, and there are also people who, although they might still believe in the lurgy, they're speaking up for the people who haven't had the jab and saying you should not be segregating people. That's not fair.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I'm still, I mean, I was disappointed to see not many people speaking up for the kids when they came for the kids with that was to me. I was disappointed. I thought that might be the point where people kind of wake up in absolute droves, but that didn't happen, unfortunately.
That was heartbreaking that people wouldn't stand
Yeah,
up for their own kids.
yeah, that's quite amazing. I know, but I still feel very optimistic about all this. I do think we're going to get there in the end.
I think we're going to get there quick because I think the wheels are coming off their bus ever so quickly now.
Hmm.
I can't see how it can go on much longer.
Hmm. It's interesting though, Jack, because the wide awake community has got so big now compared to even 2 years ago. It's like I don't know, probably 100 times bigger than it was 2 years ago. I think a lot of people are kind of saying they're awake because they're awake to all the brainwashing that's going on with regards to the current situation. But should the government have to backtrack and not be able to implement all that they want to implement in terms of the Great Reset and build back better and all that bollocks? Um, I think a lot of those people, the newcomers, they want to go back to how the world was 2 years ago, which is, and a lot of people I know, they're middle class, they earn decent money, they have foreign holidays. That's what they want to go back to. You see, it's us hardcore veterans that want a complete and utter change in this world, And sometimes when you put these ideas to people that I'm talking about, like for example, money is slavery at the end of the day. It's just a form
Yeah,
of
of course it
slavery,
is.
and
Yeah, yeah.
you're screaming and you're shouting for freedom, and good on you. But you do realise that money is slavery, and some of those people will be like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Uh,
so, so we're all kind of coming together, but at the same time, what is the end goal for this group of people is different to this group of people. Do you see what I'm saying? So,
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There are some that just want cryptocurrencies, and there's some that want to get rid of all currencies,
Hmm.
which is where I stand.
Maybe cryptocurrencies could take us to that end goal, perhaps.
Cryptocurrencies could be a halfway house,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think, and I've read, as I wrote in the book, and as I've said before on here, any form of bean counting, any form of counting the cost makes us mean.
Hmm.
Just giving without counting the cost, toiling without asking for any reward,
Hmm.
as Saint Ignatius said. Okay, he wanted us to give to the church without, but yeah, we
Hmm.
can make that peer to peer.
Hmm.
We've got the answer, haven't we? Really?
Hmm.
Just stop bean counting. Just
Hmm.
believe. Stop living in fear. Bean counting it comes from fear. Just
So,
believe that your friends and your neighbours are going to look after you,
yeah,
and
perhaps.
let them believe that they can. Let them believe that you're going to look after them, and
Hmm.
make sure that their belief is well
Hmm.
founded.
Perhaps we need to talk more about freedom in the future as well, and what freedom actually is, because I think a lot of people are calling for it at the moment and they have no real concept of what freedom is or should be anyway.
Well, you and I probably want total anarchy, don't we? Um, or 99% total anarchy
In the old sense of the word, yeah, no
in
leaders,
the
no
proper
authority.
in the
Yeah,
proper sense of the word, not
yeah.
in the sense of chaos, which is what they want you to believe it means.
Hmm.
Um, Small groups can set rules for their groups, but we don't have to have a whole country or a whole world, and that's even worse, forced to obey the rules, the same laws. One size fits all. One size fits all does not work because one size doesn't fit all.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, we're all one, but we're all individual expressions of the one.
Jack, we've got a lady called Jackie Yeva Grana.
Oh,
saying,
hello,
"Hiya."
Jackie. Why aren't I seeing the chat? Hang on.
I'm seeing it, but as you're the host, I can't put the messages onto the screen. Only you can, I think. So
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but hi, Jackie.
you
Thanks for
just
joining us.
click on the comment. Hi, Jackie. Hope you're well. There she is.
Ah, okay, that's how you do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, love. Cheers.
Brilliant. Yeah, where was we?
I don't
Freedom.
know. Yeah. Freedom is more than just the removal of restrictions. Freedom
Yeah,
is
because we didn't have freedom before we had the lurgy or the jibby jabby. There was no freedom. There's not been any freedom for a very, very long time. We're talking centuries, millennia even.
freedom is the ability to do whatever you damn well please when you damn well please it.
Just don't harm anyone else.
If we're living in the love not fear paradigm that I talk about, that I write about, where we have no reason to fear, then we have no reason to want to hurt anybody else. And if we have that paradigm, if we're living in that sort of a paradigm, where we're not under any of the pressures that cause us to be bad, if you like, then why would we be bad?
Mm. Mm.
You know, I don't think people say human nature. We said this before. People say human nature is to be mean and nasty.
Rubbish.
I don't think that's true.
No, not at all.
I think the game we did not devise, that we were born into, that's been going now for thousands of years, that we're all told to believe is normal, is the thing that makes us mean and nasty.
Mm. Mm.
Because it's a game based in fear. If you don't like the word game, then just talk about a paradigm based in fear. You can imagine living in a paradigm based in love. You'd have no reason to hurt anybody. You'd have no reason to want to get one over on anybody.
There'd be no reason for money.
There'd be no reason for money. Absolutely.
Mm.
And I think that's the very first thing we've got to do, is to get rid of money, to get rid of all forms of bean counting. Yeah, because bean counting makes us mean.
Mm.
Anyway, we've gone 30. We've gone 8 minutes over time. I don't mind going 8 minutes over time.
No, I'm all right. Well, I think we're coming to the end now, probably. There were just a few kind of random points I wanted to mention before we finish.
Yeah.
From my research, I found out today that a certain company that has a P and an F at the front of it.
Yeah.
They've acquired and bought up Arena Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
And
I heard that.
Arena Pharmaceuticals make cardiovascular equipment. Join the dots. You couldn't make it up, could you? But it's true. I can verify that. So it's all going on. It's crazy. I'm looking a lot into the intra-body nano network at the moment. So it's very difficult to talk about on these platforms without getting put in prison. But I will attempt to do so in our next show, because it's very, very interesting and not easily dismissible. Let's put it that way. So there's definitely something going on with that, with lots of satellites going up into space, Elon Musk and other things. So that's one to look out for. Let's have a look here. I recently interviewed Clive de Carle, as you know, Jack, and that That was a lot of what was talked about on that interview was unplanned. There was a lot of talk about psychedelics and pyromania and all sorts of mad, interesting things. Clive's an interesting character, so jump onto my YouTube channel to check that interview out. It's really, really good. We also talked a lot about supplements and health, as we always do. And he was telling me a very interesting story recently I think it was Sweden, the Volvo factory, the Volvo that make the cars. They did an experiment where they gave every single employee a probiotic supplement once a day. And by doing that, they slashed their sickness absence records by about 80%.
Brilliant.
It's incredible, mate. Incredible. So one probiotic tablet in the morning for every single employee at Volvo, and their sickness absent record just plummets. So that's the power of probiotics. And I've always maintained my favourite source of probiotics is fermented foods.
Yeah.
So sauerkraut and all that kind of funky stuff is so good for your guts. And without a healthy gut, you haven't got your health, people. So have a look into fermented foods, probiotics, because they really, really are essential for your health. And I've already mentioned star faults. We talked about star faults and megaliths as well. And he reminded me that you can neutralize fluoride in the water supply with borax, which you can buy online in this country. So heavily,
I don't think it's genuine borax, is it, that they sell in this country?
you can buy natural borax, mate. Yes, Clive has told me this, and my missus has bought some. I didn't see how she ordered it, but she's told me we've got some on the way. So I'll talk about that more when we've got it.
Yeah, brilliant.
But that's like the number one way to neutralize fluoride. And of course, I've been beating the drum about these things, which are fulvic minerals, which will neutralize. I'll just come out and say it at the end. Graphene oxide and glyphosate, which are probably two of the worst toxins in the world at the moment. Did you know glyphosate is even in E10 fuel, which is in the cars now? So we're all driving about and we're chucking out glyphosate everywhere. Glyphosate is everywhere at the moment. So the best way of eliminating that is to use your fulvic minerals, which you can find on my website, nutrientnirvana.co.uk. And that's about it, really. That's about it.
Send me a bottle, can you?
Sorry?
Send me a bottle.
I'll send you a bottle if you like, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're brilliant. I drink them on every show. That's what I'm drinking. It has no taste whatsoever. It makes the water a slight kind of golden brown colour, but it doesn't taste of anything at all. It just tastes like water. But there's trace minerals galore in there. It's probably the best detoxifying agent in the world. I do about 7 drops a day, and I can't recommend them enough. They're fantastic. They're very cleansing. And as I say, they are powerful a detoxifying agent as well. So highly recommended. And I'm tempted to tell a story, but we're running out of time now. So I've got a good story on trauma therapy for next time we're on as well.
Okay. Yeah,
so there's a really good one to do with holotropic breathing. And I'll save that for next time because it might take a little while. So
yeah, I look forward to that next week, mate. That'd be brilliant.
We'll be doing that,
or whatever.
And I'll be doing a presentation on star faults because I've promised now, so I'll do that.
Yeah, I'll hold you for that.
Yeah, no, I'll be on the ball with that for next week. And I guess if we're wrapping this up, then Jack, it's just a big Merry Christmas to everyone who's watching this, especially to Jackie though, because she said hello. Merry Christmas, Jackie. Happy New Year.
And Merry Solstice for the 22nd.
Yes, happy solstice, everyone. And let's hope for a happier New Year next year. Let's make it happen. Let's make next year be happier and brighter and more positive.
We're the only ones that can do it, Paul.
Absolutely. This ends when we end it, everyone. So happy Yule, Merry Solstice. Thank you, Jackie. Cheers. It ends when we end it. And that's well underway. All right, mate. I'll let you go.
Thank you, Paul. It's been good talking to you again, and thank you,
And you, as
Jackie,
always.
for coming on.
Yeah.
And see you all again, probably next week, or possibly the week after. We'll just have to decide on that nearer the time.
Probably next week.
Yeah, probably next week. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you. Cheers.